Hello everyone, my name is Maximus Philips Chan, and today I'll be talking about my project about League of Legends and the perspective of physics that we have from it today. And today I'll be talking about 5 different characters. So just very quickly, League of Legends is a very famous mobile game that I've decided to do my physics project on. And the reason I chose a game instead of a movie was because I have a better interest in games and because I find games much. So what are we doing today? Today we're going to be analyzing the abilities of different characters and seeing if their in-game abilities are realistic or not. The first we're going to see is Set. Set is one of the more famous League of Legends characters, and his very famous ability is he can take an enemy and throw them into a parabolic motion. In this scene, Set decides to throw a 20-ton enemy, and therefore our hypothesis on Set is that if Set has enough stored energy to generate kinetic energy, then he'll be able to throw a 20,000 kilogram enemy in a parabolic motion. Now that we have this hypothesis, how do we calculate this? So we can see this by looking at the given values, and we break down his parabolic motion into a linear motion. Once we do that, we can get the resultant, and from the resultant we can find the height of the parabolic motion, and from this we can conclude the amount of energy or joules needed per set to lift that enemy vertically. Similarly can be done with momentum. We can calculate the missing amount of momentum energy and say that set needs 153,274 kilogram meters s-1 momentum. Using these different comparisons and comparing Set to the strongest man, both vertically and horizontally, if we add them up, Set is actually 207 times stronger than the average human. So in conclusion, I'd say Set is pretty unrealistic because he is 207 times stronger compared to the strongest man on Earth, and he has the rate, and for that reason I give this scene the rating of XP. The second is Rammus. Today I'm going to be analyzing Rammus's rolling ability. So Rammus rolls into a rolling shape, and my hypothesis is that if Rammus generates below 9 Gs of centrifugal force, then a human can realistically mimic Rammus. And this is very simple. We just use find the given, and we use this given formula, which is V equals WR, W being radian per second, and we can see that this is the velocity of Rammus. With the velocity, then we can calculate his centrifugal acceleration that he experiences because this is also his height, and we can say that Rammus at 87.177 meters per second has a centrifugal acceleration below 9 Gs, and therefore it can be said that Rammus is actually quite realistic for a person to mimic. The third character I'm going to be talking about is Tristana. So Tristana's ability is very simple. She fires a cannonball at someone and the momentum gets transferred and this person gets knocked back. And with our hypothesis is that if Tristana's cannonball has enough momentum, it will be able to push a 13.8 kilogram enemy backwards. Now, we just use the formula of momentum to see that the enemy will be moving at 6.4705 meters per second. However, in the game, the enemy is actually thrown back 13.33 meters per second, and so actually with the momentum velocity, we can see that Tristana's ability is actually more powerful than in the real world, but it's still physically possible. So in my opinion, Tristana's physics is PGP. That means it's slightly realistic enough to fool people, but I think it's still realistic enough. Fourth character is Karma. Karma, very simply, she connects a positive and negative wire and stuns enemies with electricity. And our hypothesis is that if Karma is able to carry enough energy, perhaps with batteries, then she'll be able to electrocute, stun, and disable her enemies. So using the find given, we use Kirchhoff's law, and by adding it, we can find out that Karma is actually carrying 1,000 volts either in her body or with batteries. In my opinion, this is quite realistic, as modern tasers carry up to 50,000 volts, so for this reason I give it a rating of GP. The last character I have today is Lux. Lux is one of my favorite characters, she's very interesting, but her ability is that Lux shoots a beam of light. But in this scene, Lux's beam of light is actually diffracted by around 70 degrees with a wind wall. And do I believe this is realistic? My hypothesis is that if Lux fires a beam of light at Yasuo's wind wall, then the light will not refract and hit Yasuo. So Yasuo is the person behind this wall. But using Snell's law, we can actually see that because both sides are made of air, and the wind itself, the wall itself is made of air, therefore we can say that this scene is actually not realistic. In fact, it should also the other angle should also be 10 degrees. Even if it were to be 70 degrees, there is no object in the world that's able to refract light at 70 degrees from a 10 degrees sine angle. So in conclusion, I'd say Lux has a rating of XP. So thank you very much for listening today. My name is Maximus. I'm a Physics 1 student. And yeah, hopefully you all have a great one. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in real life or put them in the comments. Thank you very much.